going to be making an office desk for the lodge. I'm going to cut the sections of the table part of it from these big planks. These planks were support for the decking of the log cabin that I dismantled. So I'm going to get some cut up. We'll check through these and see which ones have good character. You can see the different knots and everything. We'll find this, and then I'll show you what it looks like after we select some pieces to get them dried down a little bit, cut, and then glued, and start working on them. And I'm going to be using for the center part of the desk, cut the sides down, cut the other board with real good character on the edges, and then pin them together and glue them together to make the desk. These are the two pieces of planking we cut out of the decking for the log cabin. And this will be the center section, and it is a little bit wet now because it got rained on, but we're going to dry it out behind the stove and then trim it down to make the center section. This will be the either side of the desk platform. The live edges really have an awesome look to it. So we'll be splitting this down the middle, gluing and pegging the center section in so we can make about a 26-inch wide desk, and it'll have great character to it. Okay, so this is how I'm going to cut it down. So there we got our board cut. It's going to be smoothing down on the other side. It's one of the first times I've done this. But this will be planed down, but this is the surface that's going to be the top of the table. And just in a matter of a minute or two, I was able to cut it down faster than using an Alaskan mill. So we'll go on to the next steps. So here we have the slabs that are cut. That's about what it's going to look like when it's done. It's going to have a lot of character on the edge of it. And the two pieces on the outside were cut from one board, and then the center section will be spliced in. It'll be sanded down lightly. It'll have a lot of character to it, a lot of coloration, and all those things will pop when you fill them and seal them. And the edges of this table is going to have a lot of character to it. As you see when we get done with this, it's going to look. Well, this is another beautiful day in Alaska. It's November 11th, 2019. We've had 2 weeks of at least 45-degree weather in that ballpark. Really unusual. Usually you got snow and it can be sub-zero by this time. We have a weather trend that's coming through that has been really nice to work in and cut wood and everything. So the next step in building this table, office desk actually for my office in the lodge, is we screwed it together with timber locks crossways through here, glued it, screwed it, put extra boards on to hold it steady for about 3 days or so for drying. Now it's sat for that, it's drying, done drying. So now we're going to start taking it apart and take the next steps to start shaping this into a table. So we're going to have just a rounded corner here. This is all a little bit rough, and the intent is to have it rough, not a natural, nice square, perfectly round. Since we're 170 miles from the nearest major power plant, which is Anchorage, we have to generate all our own electricity here. So when you turn on a switch or a piece of equipment or something, you really stop to think about, has the solar power charged up the battery bank enough that we can run our system off of? But it makes you look at things differently. Every time you turn a switch on or do something, you got to remember and think of, have you prepared for that so it'll operate when you need it? Well, this is the preliminary preparation of the table, and as you saw it before, you see it now. There's gouges, there's big nail holes, small nail holes, there's from the wood itself, the knots and the different grains and the staining that happened when it was out in the weather. And so now we get something that has a variability in the coloration from just the natural colors that are in the wood. So that's about what it'll look like here. Now when you sand this, you take out as much of the character as you want, and this is about as far as I'm going to go. I'll do a little bit of light sanding. I got some openings here that there's some bows in the wood I had to fill with some wood filler, and so I'll be doing some more filling. So once I'm ready to go to the filling stage of the wood filler, I will have it prepped, and everything that'll have a little divot in it will have a dark spot that'll be a dark brown, almost like this, so it'll look natural. And here I'm going to fill in the backside, so this knot will be quite dark too. A little more sanding over here, but that's about what the table is going to look like, if you can imagine. And you'll see it when we get done. This when we put our oil finish on it, it'll just really stand out and pop really sweet. But okay, so the legs we're going to use for the office table there is this diamond willow. And again, this is the natural occurring willow. There's 3 kinds of willow out here in the bush. One of them is this diamond willow, and it really grows under duress. It's a beautiful wood. This is kind of what it looks like after you originally stripped the bark off, and now it's got to be cleaned up and sanded and then sealed. But I'm going to have 4 curved legs on this one, on this table, and this will be one of the legs. And I'll show you how we start cleaning them up here. So the real beauty of this wood is the contrast between the living and the dead and dying wood and its combination. So we take off what we can. I'll do some with a hand pick here after a while. I'm just getting the bulk of the surface material off, and that got down to do a little more hand work. So, that one's starting to take shape. There'll be splits in them and different things like that, but that's the beauty of the wood. You can get down and get this comparator. It really looks nice. This is what the leg's going to be looking like on there, how it sits on there. So pretty close to what I want. It's going to be square. So the point is here is to have the tip of the leg up here in line with the base. So the leg will bow out like this quite a ways, but it'll come right back to directly perpendicular from the contact point here in the corner. And might have to do some adjusting, but it's really looking pretty good. I think they should turn out pretty well. But I have to do the fine adjusting yet, but at least get the rough stuff done first. So now I'm going to do the preliminary drilling here of these holes to attach the base of the leg to the bottom of the table here. So I do a tap hole here. And these will be just snugged in. They're not going to be really tight till I get ready to glue them. And I got to put screws in on the other directions too. From the top side as well. But this will just get me started. Okay, now we're going to put a cross member on here, and got that rounded. I got to measure here. I'll get this about to where it's going to be, and then get my size here about is what I want. And that's going to be pretty close to what I need. Right there. We'll make it a little bit bigger. Got to make it just so it fits here. Now I've gotten all the finish work, all the filling, and the sanding done and ready to go, so I'm going to do the varathane seal on it now to bring out, make all the different colors and the distress marks all kind of pop on this thing here. Put it on pretty liberally, and then I'll wipe off any excess that I have once it sets and soaks in. Because on this diamond willow, it's a lot softer here where the redder wood is than the outside. And so that'll absorb it a lot better. When there's diamond willow, the red part of it does get varathane, and then it sits and dries. It really makes the red stand out. It's really very, very beautiful. Now we'll let this dry, and then it'll have a really good look to it. If you enjoy this kind of woodworking, it is a lot of fun and really relaxing. Tedious. I normally don't get tied up in too many tedious type projects, but this is one that took a long time, but boy, I sure enjoyed it, and I'll be making some more furniture like this. I like the distressed wood and diamond willow, all the different types of woods that we have here that have such unique looks to them, like burls and different things like that. Well, finally done with the table. Been a real enjoyable time building this table. I dreamt about it last year and then started putting the pieces together last fall in October, November, cutting the pieces, getting the tabletop ready, and then finding the pieces for the legs I was going to use. And then this winter now, March and April, during the quarantine, I put the finishing touches on it, all the final sanding and getting all the pieces together for it. So it's been really enjoyable, and my hat's off to the wood craftsmen that I've worked with that have taught me things, and that I've worked with that are just artistic people, and they're just amazing. And I had a young man, David, helped me here last summer, David Sorensen and his wife Morgan, with this dining hall. And we took wood out of the log cabin, we demoed farther up the lake, and did the dining hall here. And we'll show you how that was done later on. And some of that wood was from the countertop here that I made for the top for the table. Came out of that log cabin too, as well as the flooring in here and these tables and counters. And so put that together, and then the legs are all on now, and I did my final varathaning, and this is what we ended up with it looking like now when we're done. And it has a kind of a unique look to it, but that's what I was hoping it was be, that nothing's square. But got a little touch up to do yet on it, and where I had some runs in that, but it really turned out the way I wanted it to for my office table. Got a lot of live edge here that has some great look to it too. And so anyhow, that's the table, and quite a process to put that together, but I'm sure glad I did it. It was a project that I was really hoping to do, and I hope you all enjoyed watching how this was done. And if you enjoyed this, share this with your friends, and keep in touch with us on the Wildernesses here on the YouTube channel. Push the like button, subscribe, and share it with your friends. And leave a note down below other things you'd like to see as we go along on the different lifestyle here in the real bush of Alaska. So see you back here at the lodge.